Okay. Well, welcome everyone to Ask a Blue Part 2 of Session Set Part 2. This is our fourth Ask a Blue overall. First two were for the Slowpitch Softball Academy, and this is the second open session. We'll be going over the second half of the presentation today. I'm joined by Pete Saunders, who is a BASU Blue. Hopefully we'll be joined a little bit later by Spencer. He sends his apologies. Before we do get started with Ask a Blue, however, I want to point out that I'm not actually at Farnham Park. I'm using a virtual background today. But the reason why I'm doing so is that we at Baseball Softball UK did announce earlier today that we are reopening Farnham Park on a limited basis starting the 13th of June. All the information is on BSUK's social media. You do need to sign up in advance for field hire or for one-on-one training sessions, which we are bringing in coaches to do those one-on-one sessions. If you have any questions, feel free to email info@bsuk.com. But we're very excited that we, at least in some form, we will be playing baseball and softball in the very near future. So if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to ask that at the end as well. And I'm happy to answer whatever I can. So now into the meat and potatoes. I'm Chris Knoblock from Baseball Softball UK. I'm part of the commercial department. That is me in the upper right-hand corner looking grumpy about broadcasting, which is one of my jobs. I'm joined by Pete Saunders. Pete has been a BASU Blue for a number of years, which I am not legally allowed to say without getting shut down. But he is bringing all of his knowledge and expertise here, and we really thank him for spending the time to do these sessions with us. They've been incredibly informative, and we're very, very lucky to have his expertise available. So today, for today's session, we are going to go through understanding awards, substitutions and lineups, fun on one for first base, and fair or foul rules. This is the end of my expertise, which is just talking loudly into a camera, and I will turn things over to Pete. So Pete, take it away.
Okie dokie. Okay, same format as we had on Monday. We'll have some statements and a poll of whether false or true, and we'll go through the answers and explain why it is one or the other. So there is actually a handout on awards which you use on the BASU courses, which is on the BSUK Softball Academy page, where you can download it for all the awards, because there are a number of 1 base, 2 base, 3 base, 4 base awards, and we're not covering them all here, and this handout really summarizes them rather well. Okay, first one. Batter 1 hits the ball to F6. F6 is the shortstop. F6 bobbles the ball, doesn't field it cleanly, and batter 1 has already touched first base when shortstop does the traditional throw straight over first base's head. The thrown ball goes into the dead ball area. Batter 1 should be awarded second base. Okay. And number 2 on here, F5 is third base, goes to catch a fly ball in foul territory. So they catch the ball, but the momentum takes them into dead ball territory. And how many bases? Oh, actually, this is when we need to put a number on this from the last time, don't we? How many bases are runners awarded? 1 base is true, false would be 2 bases. So do the voting on that basis. So yes, I've forgotten this one. Okay, so our polling's available now if you want to check your votes up there. We have 2 votes so far.
Three more votes, folks.
Rev up.
Sorry, the second question makes no sense.
Yeah, no, we said that if you take 1 base award would be true, 2 base award would be false. Does that help?
There we go.
Okay, looks like everyone's got them right there. With awards, there's a number of bases you get awarded, and also from when the award is, if that makes sense. With the ball thrown dead, the award is from the time of the throw, and it will be a 2-base award from the time of the throw. So as the batter had touched first base before the ball was thrown, then they would get to third base rather than second base on the award. And with F5, catching the fly ball, you can catch a fly ball in foul territory. It's an out. It's still live at that point. But once they go into foul ball territory, the ball is now dead. And that's a 1-base award from the time the ball goes dead. So any other runners would get 1 base from the last base they touched. So if they started at second base, say they were, so actually if it's 2 down, no, it doesn't matter if it's 2 down to be end of it anyway. If they were running on a catch in the infield, they would get to third base on that one. Does that make sense for everyone? Any more questions? Sort of following on from this, please do ask. We're looking for questions. This is the idea of these is to try and prompt you and make you think about something. And if something else comes up that you would like to ask about awards, now's a good time. Oh, we have Ken. Oh, you go. Here you go. Yep.
Hi guys, sorry. Yes, so just in relation to that, if the ball, in the second one there, in relation to them going into dead ball territory, and the person has left the base prior to the catch, and they fail to return to the base after the catch, and the ball is dead, can they be called out on an appeal?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. They still have to go back and touch the base before advancing. If they choose not to, then they can be appealed. And,
okay, so it will be an appeal by the
appeal play. So one of the fielding team would have to say, the rule says when the umpire has to give them time to go back and retouch it. But once they've got to a base and stopped, then they don't have the chance to go back. So if they sort of say they're on 2, they left, the ball's caught, goes dead. They started to go to 3, but then turned back, touched 2, then back to 3, then that's okay. Then they couldn't be appealed. But if they go to 3, stop there, and then someone says, "Oh, you need to go back," they can't then go back once they've reached that base. But the defensive team would have to appeal it before the umpire could give it as an out. That's a good question.
Okay. Yep.
More hands. Oh, we got someone waiting to come in, I think. Rob, Patrick. Oh, I thought he was in already. Looks like Patrick's in the waiting room.
I think we may have lost him, but I just added him back.
Okay, cool. Any more questions on awards? So there is a handout with the number of awards, because there are 3-base awards, 4-base awards, which sounds a bit silly. 4 bases is a home run. But in some tournaments, you're only allowed a certain number of home runs, and a 4-base award doesn't count against your home run limit. That's why you sometimes get 4-base awards. An example of those, if a fence diamond, the ball goes close to the fence, the fielder touches it but doesn't catch it, it then goes over the fence. That's actually a 4-base award rather than a home run. It doesn't really make much difference unless you have home run limits. So, yeah, just sometimes people ask why you have a 4-base award.
I think just a quick one from here if we can.
Oh, yeah.
It might be in the handout, the 2-base award off the bat for a ball landing fair and then rolling dead.
Right.
Say the stereotypical one, someone smashed it over right fielder and then it's gradually out. I think my understanding is it's just a flat 2-base award. There's no room for kind of umpire's judgment. Say that one, a runner's already rounded second and it's very gradually trickling. And it's kind of in the fielder's own interest to ignore it and leave it and hope it trickles over their ball line. Because
on that one, it's a 2-base award from the time of the pitch. So it doesn't matter how fast you're running. If it goes foul, then dead. You're only the batter runner is only ever getting to second base. That's one. And incidentally, if even if it came off the fielder's glove, say right field tried to catch it in fair territory, but didn't catch it properly, they then went foul and dead, it's still 2 bases from the time of the pitch. And that's one a lot of people do get wrong. I know that I hit well. That's what I used to do when I was playing.
Well,
Any
thank
other,
you.
actually, none of you remember me playing, I'm sure. Any other questions on awards? Guess we go to the next slide then. So, actually, substitution lineups is something we don't really do, but we are starting to bring lineup cards into nationals, so it's a good idea to have an idea of what they are. But these questions are more to do with how you score and how you need to list people in the scorebook. You skipped ahead a few. Oh. Okay, so the statements here: any starting player, including an EP, an extra player, may be substituted and re-entered once, providing the player occupies the same batting position when returning to the lineup. It's actually quite important to notice that any substitutions, things like that, it's the batting order we're talking about. Fielding positions can be very fluid, but it's the batting order position where the lineup needs to stay the same. And the second one, a co-ed batting order, must consist of either 10 or 12 batters. The batting order may be arranged in any order that the manager desires. So if we get the poll going. Second question, we need a bit of explanation as well.
And a quick note that will potentially come up during this poll question and discussion is we have inclusive softball rules to
Yes.
discuss some of these other situations that you may occur while you're playing. Those are available at BaseballSoftballUK.com/game-ready, which is also where we host all of these webinars after they're complete. And I believe they're also on the British Softball Federation website. So those will be included, and when we post both of these videos, there will be a link to that as well.
I've lost someone. I think there's only 4 people voting now, so it looks like we're probably finished.
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay. On the second question, I'll go through that because I don't think there's a definitive true or false personally for that question. I'll explain why when we get there. Any starting player, including an EP, may be substituted and re-entered once, providing the player occupies the same batting position. Absolutely. Starting players, which do include EPs, can be substituted out, and then they can come back in. Once they've left the game from there, they're now burnt as they can't come in as a player. A substitute, once they've come in, if they then go out, they are then burnt. They can only come in once. So it is different to starting players and substitutes. So everyone got that one right? And again, they have to come back into the same position in the batting order. A co-ed batting order must consist of either 10 or 12 batters. The batting order may be arranged in any order the manager desires. This is a slightly ambiguous question. It's got to be male, female, male, female, or with the LBGT and non-binary players. The rules are male, female, non-binary, female, male. So it can't be any order the manager wants. But given that if you've only got male and female players, no non-binaries, male, female, male, female, but it doesn't, the umpire of the game can't determine which male bats where. That's the manager's choice. But male, female, male, female. After that, anything else the manager desires. Actually, I was just looking at the LBGT advisory rules. And it's something that we're all going to have to get to know about what all the things can happen in. As Rob said, they're on the BASU UK website, almost certainly the BSF as well. It's worth having a look at them just to make sure you're aware what you need to, the guidance they suggest to how batting orders need to be put together. Again, a batting out of order, as an umpire, you don't need to do anything about it. unless it's appealed by the other team. So it's up to players as well to know these things, to know how to appeal a batting out of order or an illegal substitute. So yeah, worth getting to know them, so you can use it to your advantage. Any questions on substitutions and lineups that we haven't covered here? And this is a real snapshot, so it's not everything. No. In that case, I think we probably move to the next slide. Fun on one. This was an interesting one we brought up after for the first two sessions that seemed to go very well. Some of the odd things that happen on first base. First base has the safety base, the orange traditionally, and the white portion. The orange bits for the runner, the white bits for the fielder, normally. So the questions or statements we have: once the batter runner passes first base, only the fair portion of the double base shall be used to determine if a player is on or off the base. That's number one. So number two, batter one hits a ground ball to F5. F5 is third base, and beats the fielder's throw to F3 to first base, but B1 misses the base. Say they've jumped over it, but they jumped over it before the ball gets there. The umpire should automatically declare batter one out. Runner one is on first base. Batter two hits a sharp ground ball to F3, first base fielder, who first touches the base and then touches runner one, who is standing on first base. The umpire should rule both out. Okay, clock's ticking. See some heated discussion going on in one screen there. Still got one person to vote.
That's all.
That's all, folks. Okay. Now, number two on this, I know had a lot of discussion on the first time we did this. Once the batter runner passes first base, only the fair portion, the white portion of the double base, shall be used to determine if the player is on or off the base. Absolutely. The orange bit only exists for running from home plate to first base. Once you've turned the corner, then if you come back and stand on the orange, so you turn the corner as if you're going to two, you come back and stand on the orange, you're not on a base. And it's one of my, as an umpire, it's one of my, oh, it makes my teeth grind. When the fielding team throws the ball back to first base, who then just tosses it to the base coach, change the balls over with the player off the base. You know, tag them, that's one of our outs. You get to the bar quicker. But yeah, so as a runner, once you've touched the orange going through, from then on, you need to be using the white part only. Okay, the second one, batter one hits a ground ball to F5 to third base fielder and beats the fielder's throw, but misses the base. They jumped over it or just run to the side of it slightly. The umpire should automatically declare batter one out. Absolutely, you all got this one. Absolutely not. It's a missed base. A missed base is an appeal play. At that point, the appeal would look like a tag, but they're not automatically out. Any other base, it's the same thing. If they've missed it, they're not out unless they're appealed. Same thing happens at one. Okay, runner one is on first base. Batter two hits a sharp ground ball to F3, who first touches first base and then touches R1, who is standing on first base. The umpire should rule both out. Absolutely not. You all got that right. That's only one out. Had they put their foot, sorry, touched R1 first and then put their foot on the base, then we'd have had two outs. So that's the order in which things happen. We use a phrase, bag tag. So you take the bag first, the base, and then you tag the player to get both out. As an umpire, we'll be looking for this and hopefully get it right for you. So that's it. Yep, good. Some good answers there. Everyone okay with those answers? Any questions on those or any additional questions? So this is only a little snapshot. No hands going up.
I think we're good.
I think we're good. That's all the slides we have. There were some questions posted.
We actually have one more.
Is there one more?
Foul.
I beg your pardon.
The new edition.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did have this last time. Again, I'm pretty sure we put a sheet, an A4 sheet of when it's foul and fair onto the BSUK website. If we didn't, you want it, do shout. We'll make sure we put it up. So it explains when things become fair, when they're foul, and sort of why, which we can go through a bit. We'll do the questions first here. And I think this first one we might have already covered a couple of slides ago. If a fair batted ball after touching ground in fair territory rolls out of play unintentionally off a defensive player, 3 bases are awarded. Sorry. Number 2, if a live ball is carried by a fielder into dead ball territory intentionally, all runners are awarded 2 bases from when the ball went dead. If a live ball is carried by a fielder into dead ball territory unintentionally, all runners are awarded 1 base from the last base touched at the time of entering dead ball territory. Which I think we've covered all of these in previous slides, actually. So you're going to get them all right. Actually, no, we didn't cover 2. Getting there?
One more person, or 2. Chris Moon has entered the chat.
Well, you better get those right. Yep, they're all in. Well,
There we go.
yeah, it's looking good actually on the answers there. Okay, the first question we did talk about your traditional right field hit. It's 2 bases from the time of the pitch. So it's try to catch it or try to field it, doesn't really matter either. It's landed first in fair, as on this one, it's touched ground in fair ball territory. And fielder doesn't field it cleanly, so it goes out of play, foul, then dead. It's 2 bases from the time the ball was pitched. If a live ball is carried or thrown into dead ball territory intentionally, all runners are awarded 2 bases from when the time the ball goes dead. That is true. It is 2 bases from the time the ball goes dead. That's an unusual one. I don't think I've ever seen that. I know people have seen it. It's a very odd award. Yeah, you're giving the runners a lot of bases. If it's in the outfield, they've probably already done at least 1 base, so you'll give them an extra 2 bases from there. Number 3, we cover this, often called catch and carry, but it could be you try to tag someone, the ball goes out of your glove into dead ball territory. So unintentionally, that's 1 base from the last base touched when the ball goes dead, enters the dead ball territory. So if it was someone sliding into or getting tagged at a base, the umpire would have to be watching very carefully. Did they touch the base before the ball goes dead, because when they're trying to tag them, obviously they haven't reached the base. So you have to be very aware of where the runner's got and when the ball goes dead, at what time, and then you go from there. Does that make sense for everybody?
I've seen it being carried dead deliberately to shorten it to get the out. So in
Get
a
out.
time game,
How would it get an out?
well, you win, but you just to speed the thing up so that you get people moving round.
Okay.
I've seen it. I can't remember when but it was in some timed scenario where it made sense to.
Oh, to get a dead ball. Yeah, yeah. So you can effectively speed the game up without by doing it legally. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Yes, that's the danger of our timed games. You have to sometimes have odd ways of making sure an innings finishes. The rules are written for 7 innings, so yeah, they don't have anything in them about timed games at all. So we've manufactured things that sometimes don't work very well, in my opinion.
Ken has a question.
Okay. Oh, you muted.
Yeah, just on point 2 there. The only time I might think of somebody intentionally doing it, would it be a case that someone thinks there's less than 2 outs and they catch the ball, say a first baseman catches the ball and then walks into the dugout with the ball? That's an intentional. They intentionally walk out of dead ball, but that's the kind of scenario I'm trying to think. What's the difference there?
I'll say that happens at least once a year in MLB, where there will be 1 out and an outfielder will catch a ball and just flick it into the stands to a kid too. So it's actually more common than you might think.
Yeah.
In the MLB, all right, giving the ball away. Yeah. But is it something like? Because obviously you go into the dugout, the dead ball area. Is that a 1 base award?
If they did it, I would consider that accidental, not intentional. Yeah. They intentionally went off the field, but they didn't mean to get the ball dead.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So my view on that would be a 1 base award for that, for being stupid. 2 bases seems a bit mean, but yeah, that's a good question actually, because they have intentionally walked out, but yeah, they're not intentionally making it go dead because they didn't realise that they had to keep it live. So I would put that as a 1 base award. Yeah.
Okay.
Any more?
Any general questions about umpiring? Slowpitch softball?
We had some of the questions that came up. We put on the website when people registered. There's one: what runners and fielders can and cannot do. I think that was yours, Paul. It's a little bit. How long is a bit of string? Or you've gone like a ghost, Paul. I think your background's not working very well. Yeah, I think we probably need to have a sort of scenario to say, what is right and wrong for runners doing and not doing. It could take us hours to go through every scenario. Oh, that's better. We'll see you now. Did you have a scenario in mind there, Paul? Or need to unmute Paul Fagan? I need to unmute him. No, still not. Oh, here we go.
No, basically, so it's from the last question that we got on the BASU one, not the last one, the one about the interference on the BASU.
Oh, right, yeah.
And basically, from the wording that was put in the question at the start, it said that the player stopped. So for me, I would call interference at that point because the person's actually stopped on the line, knows what they're doing, and it's cases like we need to say, as umpires and coaches, they need to explain what runners can and can't do.
Yeah, I think this is very similar to Lee's question as well, actually. To me, there's a lot of coaching that comes in here. What should the runners do and not do, and what should the fielders do and not do? As umpires, we have are they in the way? Are they impeding? Yes, then it's interference. That's the job an umpire has to do. This is a very contentious question, not just here. There was a Canadian posting that had a similar amount of comment. My view from when I was playing, if I was close, I'd be sliding anyway, so you're out of the way. And if I'm like sort of a third of the way to second base, I can see they're throwing it, I'm going to duck to get out of the way of it because I don't want to get hurt. To my mind, if someone stands upright, then they are deliberately getting in the way, or not getting out of the way. You know, it's whether it's a positive action or a kind of lack of a positive action, they are interfering, and they are trying to stop the fielder making the play. And to me, that's got to be called. I think a lot of people agreed with that. There were a few that still want the ball to be thrown, but there's a safety issue. It really is.
That's it. I mean, so the main thing with being an umpire is the level that you umpire at as well, the level of players that are playing. If you look at NSL 1, 2, and possibly even getting towards NSL 3 in the future, they're playing at the level, they should know the rules, and as umpires, I think we need to call interference a lot more.
I agree. Yeah.
And so until that happens, it's we've got to start doing something sort of now for the future, really.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Robbie brought this up in the first session, and he's adamant that we should be calling this. He actually thought there was a rule that said the player has to get out of the way, and pointed out there isn't a rule. But if they are in the way, it's interference. It's kind of one of those, is it half full, half empty sort of things. And I do believe we need to be calling interference and obstruction a lot more. I've been saying this for a number of years. Interference for me happens less than obstruction. But interference is when people are more likely to get hurt. So it's probably more important to be calling it and making sure people know they don't have to throw through a player or dolly it over and risk it going dead.
Yeah.
So I've been encouraging people to call this a lot more, and if we all do it, players will start to get out of the way because they know they're not actually helping anything. All they do potentially, they're not helping a runner get safe. They're actually getting that runner out, and no other runner's going to advance because you'll have called it a dead ball. So the more we do it, the more we encourage other people to do it. I think the safer our game's going to get. We really don't want injuries. I mean, let's face it, at the moment we're all dying to get out there. If the first time we play we get a ball in the head, that's not going to be funny.
Yeah.
And I will say, so as part of BSUK's new guidance on the reopening of Farnham Park, we also put out hygiene guidance. And one of the key points is to take less risk as well, because any injury that occurs will put additional pressure on the NHS and potentially expose you to coronavirus. So that's going to become a little bit more part of the game as well, at least in the interim while we're still coming out of lockdown.
Right. I mean, it's something Paul was referring to. BASU's got a Facebook page, and we've been putting questions up 1 or 2 a week. Had a bit of a break last week, and the last one I put up was this scenario, and it got some comments. I think we went a bit ballistic was the phrase we used. People agreeing, not agreeing, and it's surprising. But we put the answer up that if a player is standing in the way and it stops the fielder making a throw, it's an interference. You've got a dead ball and an out. That was the official answer to that question. So I'm hoping people are taking that on board. But yeah, maybe we need to put something else out to just to make sure we get people doing this properly.
Thanks a lot for that.
I was just looking to see some of the other explanation of interference and obstruction. We did that on Monday. The other one was about the judging 6 and 12. Probably go back to that because I know we got answered on Monday. But I'm a firm believer in, especially if you've got buildings or a tree some you can recognise in the background, use that as your 12-foot and 6 if you have it, but certainly 12-foot marker. Because as umpires, we're moving around, and if we're using something that's attached to us to judge, it's moving with us. So what does that mean to that 6 and 12-foot limit? So it's not going to be consistent, and you hear from pitchers all the time. If only they were consistent. Good pitchers will adapt to what your zone. Maybe you're calling 11.5 inches. They'll adapt to it. If they don't know what you're calling, they can't adapt to it. So it's much more important to be consistent. But consistently right is even better. Any other questions?
If you just have a quick one, given there was a mention of time games earlier.
Oh, yes, yes.
I've not strictly seen it called, but say you've got the scenario a team is essentially getting slaughtered. It's very stacked in one team's favour, and you have a team deliberately get out, be it standing on the plate and hitting it. So very technically by the rules, that's something they should get pulled for. I've never seen it called, but just if it ever came up.
Twice. Oh my word, there was a backlash. Just I see Paul laughing. Technically speaking, if you try and slow down or speed up the game, you forfeit the game. You've lost it 7-0, sorry. I did it at Leeds tournament last year and a time before. And most of the umpiring crew said, well, what rule's that? So I had to find the rule. And, I've never seen that one before. Well, the trouble is, if because we brought in this false limit, I suggest, well, two things. BSF recommended several years ago that we have a time limit and they then play the innings out across the board. That was what we meant to do. We did that for a while, then we kind of got out of the habit. I think we should get back into the habit of doing that, as we said we would. Some of the arguments against this, some of the lower level games, half an innings can take 10 minutes to happen, so can you do it? So if we do have a no new innings limit and then a kill the game limit, you've also got to let people, what's the word using cricket? Not retire.
Declare.
Sorry, what?
Declare.
Declare, thank you. Sorry, I couldn't. So have a declare rule, which isn't in softball, but because we're bringing in artificial things anyway, you need to have something like that. I did a tournament last year, a recreational tournament. I was crew chief, and the tournament rules didn't say it. And I told the umpires to do that and to tell the teams they could declare rather than having to get out artificially. So
yeah,
because you're actually right, that's a forfeit. And yeah, I've done it. It was an interesting experience.
How long was the argument afterwards that you declared that a forfeit?
It was about 10 or 12 seconds to go before the game was dead anyway, so I mean, it didn't matter. It just to put it into perspective, the guy said, I'm going to get myself out, jumped on stood on the plate and bunted. If he hadn't told me what he was going to do, I may have been a little different about it. It was like a red rag to a ball. It really was. Yeah, that took some explaining.
In LSL, or as was GLSML, we actually put that in the tournament pack that you could declare that you just wanted to.
It makes sense. If you have a hard, a kill the game, you've got to give the team a way of getting out. Yeah, if they're home team and they're winning, they've got to be the other team into bat effectively. It makes a lot of sense to me. I think timing of games as a crew chief is the thing you get the most complaints about, because every umpire does it slightly differently, even if you told them to do it, how you want it to be done. We're human, and it's probably the thing we have the most complaints about in tournaments. Games being called early, games being allowed to overrun. Of course, it's always by the losing team. Any more? I think that was it for the general questions I've got.
Sorry, Pete, I just had a question in relation. I heard you talk about the runner stopping. Obviously, that's between first and second, or say second and third. But in relation to the batter runner stopping on their way to first to avoid a tag, at what point are they out, and at what point is the umpire called the out?
That's a good question. It's a rule that's often misinterpreted or put in wrongly. Every other base you can back away because you've got somewhere to go back to. Batter, of course, hasn't. Batter runner. So they can stop. And this rule only applies if someone's trying to tag you. If no one's trying to tag you, you can do the hokey cokey and still get to one. But if you stop, you're okay. The minute you take a step backwards, it's a dead ball, and everyone goes back to the bases they are at, even if they've already crossed home plate. So you had a runner at 3, it was very quick. The batter runner saw this was going to happen. The runner crosses home plate, then the batter runner steps back. That runner, the batter runner's out, and the guy that's got home has to go back to third. It's a special rule to cover that.
So it's a kind of scenario where the ball is dribbled, say, to the pitcher or catcher or first base, where they're going to make a tag play on the runner, and they don't get it because they go to tag them, and the runner either stops or takes a step backwards. They can't make another play because they're chasing that person.
Yeah.
And then you say the runners are advancing as you're chasing a batter runner.
Yeah. That's
So
why I
it's
say
a
it to
dead
stop doing
ball,
it.
and they go back at that point. It's just not an out, and you call the out straight away. It's an actual dead ball,
It's
and
a
everyone
dead
goes
ball.
back. Okay.
But unlike other dead balls, runners would have to, even if they'd scored, would have to go back to the base.
Okay.
Normally on an interference call, if a runner's scored, that would still count. If it was before the interference, on this one, the runner has to go back. It's a little different.
Okay.
But it's done to stop people doing it, to let their runner score. So it's kind of you're trying to cheat as the runner by backing away.
Mm.
So yeah, that's a good question though. And I've seen people where the batter's hit, they're going to get caught, so they turn away to go back towards the third base line where their team's sitting. The ball's dropped. The umpire calls them out because they've stepped backwards. Well, the rule is only for stepping back to avoid a tag. Other than that, all you're doing is wasting time. You could have been running around the base in that time. So this rule only comes into consideration when someone is trying to tag you and you're trying to delay it. That's another instance where, I've seen that rule be put in wrongly.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Okay. Any more?
If any questions come to you after the fact, our information is up there on the screen. It would also be fun if you send Spencer emails without any context with questions, so feel free to do that. But likewise, if you have any questions about BSUK's reopening of Farnham or any questions on what's happening with softball that we haven't answered on social media, feel free to send me an email. And we have more information at BaseballSoftballUK.com/game-ready. That's where all of these sessions are posted. All the videos are posted. We'll also post them out on our social media tomorrow. Apologies for those of you who might have been looking for it yesterday. Some other stuff happened in the world that we kind of needed to attend to. Any other questions, comments?
I was going to say, I mean, this is a bit out of the blue here, Robert. Sorry, Chris. But if people have got any ideas of another session we could do, umpiring-wise, not necessarily, but it could be, how to play a coaching thing. If anyone's got an idea, then probably worth checking it forward, because if it's something that hasn't been done yet, it might be another opportunity to do something.
And I'll pull back the curtain a little bit here. We will be announcing another BSUK webinar with Bill Holmberg tomorrow on throwing and throwing injuries. That'll be early next week. We just had to kind of finalize all the details on that, but we'll be announcing that hopefully tomorrow afternoon. So we will continue to do webinars as well, although we're trying to move a little bit away from the webinars and more back onto the field, at least while we can, which explains why the weather is turning to rain.
Traditional softball weather.